107-97. The Kings lose a tough one on the road, finishing 1-3. Not a good result. Tristan Thompson is going off in the post-game presser right now, saying he doesn't need a coach to inspire him. The day that happens, he'd rather be retired playing with the kids at the park. He said they should have gone 4-0 because he literally broke down every single team and said the Pistons want to be a top 3 team in the draft. He said Oklahoma doesn't want to win. He said the Timberwolves, they have names. That's all they have. No disrespect to those teams. These teams play hard, but that is a mindset that you love, that you want to hear, and it makes me happy, man. I was pretty down after the loss, and we'll break it all down from top to bottom, but man, Tristan Thompson just capped off a great presser, and I hope his teammates hear him. That's the type of voice, leadership that they need to hear, man, because the excuses need to stop now. I know a lot of people will be on this chat talking a lot of you-know-what, but hey, man, we're here to keep it a bucket, keep it 100, but also give you rational, well-informed takes and not really let our emotions get the best of us. But I love what TT said, man. Javi, how you doing? We'll also have Vince a little bit later on today, but bro, how you feeling, man?
I would definitely like to hear the sense of reality that Tristan presented in the post-game presser. How are you doing? How's everything?
My goodness, I can't get a hold of the presser now, but I'll definitely post it later on social media. I'm sure it'll be up on Twitter soon, and by the time we do it, I like to screen share it and kind of share his thoughts. But a lot of cursing in there. He legit went in, and he just kept it real, man. I mean, that's an NBA champion right there, who's been through it all, who's gone to war with LeBron James and company, and he knows what he's talking about. I just love how honest he was. That's big time, man. And we'll have the Medici player of the game, some takeaways, some specific plays. We'll have 5 plays to break down, so we'll have some film session tonight. What was your biggest takeaway from tonight, though?
It was simple. It was the Kings' lack of offensive continuity. They had 20 turnovers, 2 fast break points, counteracting Timberwolves 16. And overall, sense of what the Kings do, they get buckets in transition off playing solid defense. And as Luke pointed out in the post game, they try to go, their smaller sets offensively, and they're just getting out rebounding where they had, their smaller sets in regards to their guards and forwards and the, smaller central lineup, and they put the two, bigger players out there in the power forward and center position, and they weren't able rather to make consistent shots from the perimeter. But overall, the totality of the Kings, from start to finish, top to bottom, starters and bench players alike, they shot, I believe, 38.5% to collectively from the field together as it is. But as you see, as the Kings play to their opponent's capability, which, like Tristan Thompson alluded to, they have stars, but that's not a team based on, having camaraderie. That's just a team with some flashy names. I'm not saying it's just trying to lose, but they've had 3 to 4 wins this year. If not, I believe they had, my bad, 5 wins. But what I'm saying is they're still in transition with young, up-and-coming player like Anthony Edwards. Cat's been there a little while, but he's never really won anything outside of Jimmy Butler being there with Andrew Wiggins 4 or 5 years previous from this year. But the point is this. They're nowhere near where the Kings played in regards to the presence that the Timberwolves brought tonight in regards to how they played against the Kings, made it out to be as if they're a playoff team, when Tristan alluded to. That was a road trip the Kings at worst went 3-1 in, and they went 1 and
Right.
3, and that's unacceptable in every which way.
100%. Um, you mentioned, and a lot of people were talking about this a lot, and someone said, Nick, how I love Javier's new haircut, fresh haircut. Shout out to him, man. But
Thank you.
Davion Mitchell was a plus 10 for the game, and he talked about size and how Luke is trying to put out a fire in terms of trying to fix the defensive rebounding issues with going a little bit bigger and inserting Metu into starting lineup, but not really playing his 3 guards as much. He's still going to play them, but just depending on whether or not they can rebound the ball. I thought they did an okay job today, but there were key moments, as Luke said. I think it was in the second, but there were key offensive moments to where they got offensive balls, 50-50 balls that they should have never gotten, and they got points off of that. And that's where that can just break you down and the momentum shifts. So for the people that are complaining about Davion, who was the only guy that was plus 10 for the game, uh, he wasn't there in crunch time, right? He was 7 points, 1 of 5 from beyond the arc, 2 of 2, but he was solid defensively. Slipping a lot early in the game. I was tweeting out like they should get this dude new shoes because he's slipping out there. I feel like his traction was a little bit off. But do you feel like the Kings are doing the right job in playing the three guards less? Or do you want to see more of Davion? Because you really can't play Buddy, Tyrese, Fox, Davion all at one time because then that'd be a disaster.
Well, I kindly disrespect or kindly disagree rather, and do not mean to be disrespectful in regards to that precedent, but I think they need to play the three guard lineup because what they're doing is not working, and it's not about. Obviously, we're not going to be prisoners of the moment, but I'm saying they're 5-9, correct? Or excuse me, they're 6-9 through 15 games, correct? To me, they're 6-9 through 15 games. They lost by 10 to a Minnesota Timberwolves team who has 5 wins, 6 wins, has won little to no games at home. But what's more troubling to me is that how does Terrence Davis and Mo Harkless get, I won't say starter like minutes, but now they don't even touch the court. And then you look at the stat line with Davion Mitchell. He didn't play the last 9 minutes of the game, and I don't understand to say he was a first round pick that we essentially got rid of, our backup point guard for Tristan Thompson for when we made that acquisition this summer with Atlanta as well as with Boston to acquire Tristan Thompson. We got rid of our backup point guard we acquired from Detroit last year. How does that equate to Davion not playing the last 9 minutes of the game when we knew we needed to get a defensive stop to find a way to counteract what they were doing in the fourth quarter, as well as the third quarter? The Kings were outscored. They gave up, for one, 30 points in the third, 33 in the fourth, and they scored 25 in the fourth, and 22 in the third quarter. For the Kings to have success offensively, they have to win in transition with having good timely stops. But if you give up 30 points in the third quarter and 33 points in the fourth quarter, or vice versa, my apologies, you have to have your best defender out there to stop,
Right.
more or less, stop the bleeding and, cut the flow of the Timberwolves. And my bad. They scored 24 in the third, but nonetheless, they were still outscored. They were up by 4 at halftime and lost the game by 10. That's
And to
unacceptable in every
and
which
to
way.
give people some context about how good Davion has been defensively, coming into this game today, out of 130 players, he ranked third amongst defensive field goal percentage, like holding his opponents to 37%, which was 50 of 135 attempts. The guy is really good defensively. I just don't know, and Vince is on, and I'll have Vince kind of chime in into this, but how do you fix your defensive rebounding issues? Which again, Seabass, a huge fan of the show, loves to always talk about going big and grabbing rebounds, which that has been a huge issue. I can't lie, but how do you fix that while still getting your guys like Davion, Tyrese, Fox, and Buddy on the court? It's a fine line, man. And it's just like Luke said, you kind of have to go with your gut in those moments. Any takes
I
on
don't mean
that,
to interrupt.
Vince? Go
I don't
ahead.
mean to interrupt real quick, but Seabass to say rebounding is an issue. The Kings outscored the Timberwolves by 12 and had 20 offensive rebounds to only Minnesota's 10. The
But in
rebounding was not
previous
the
games,
issue.
though, but like in
Understood. But
previous
then when
games,
they
yeah.
had the bigger sets out there that Seabass and other Kings fans may want to attest to have more success, the Kings were not making shots. They were 36.6% from the field today compared to Minnesota's 50%. I mean, look at the Kings. They made 10 out of 38 attempted three-pointers. I mean, again, the Kings had 24 points scored in the third and 25 scored in the fourth compared to Minnesota's 33 points scored in the third and 30
Right.
points scored in the fourth quarter, respectively. And that's with the big men on the court not being able to play in transition, have help on defense, most importantly, make their wide-open shots. So there's a counter, a plus negative to having big men on the court. So to have the big man on the court is one thing, but having a playmaker that can spread the floor, make three-pointers like a Terrence Davis, like Davion Mitchell, players of that, Mo Harkless, whether he can shoot perimeter shots or not consistently, it's the fact he can space the floor. Having the Bagleys and Thompsons and Lenz and Holmes and all those 4 or 5s of the world on the court consistently lead to the Kings not be able to score consistently. And that's what happened in the second half, as they're up by 4 and lost the game by 10.
Go ahead, Vince.
I mean, to answer your question about the initial thing, like how do you respond? You have to start preaching for these guards to start helping the big men and crashing those boards. It can't just be looking at one specific player. All last year it was Buddy Hield doesn't hustle to go get rebounds. Now I believe he's averaging right around 4.5 to 6 rebounds a game within that range. De'Aaron Fox isn't crashing the board hard. You need to see guys other than just big men crashing down for rebounds and crashing hard. Because if you're going to run a small ball set, that you are willing to give up the length. So that means
Right.
you have to be willing to show the grit to jump in there and use your body to get those types of rebounds, in my opinion. And then it's also another thing where if you're gonna sacrifice some of the offense, you have to trust what you have in those big men. And unfortunately, Tristan Thompson was horrible tonight. If I'm just being honest, he just was not there. I felt like he was giving up quite a bit. When every time he was on the floor, yeah, he got a few offensive rebounds that
I
led to
agree.
almost nothing. The Kings got plenty of offensive rebounds for putbacks that were misses, and you have to take into consideration that the Kings did just miss shots. Like I will be the first one to say, every single night you can't be hot, right? Every single night you can't always have the hot hand. Every single night you can't go out and just make everything you throw at the rim. However, this offense is so one-dimensional. This offense is so predictable, and the fact that they keep trying to run half-court sets over moving this basketball in transition, when you have players like De'Aaron Fox and even guys like Davion Mitchell, who doesn't give enough praise for how well he's able to finish in transition, guys like Tyrese Halliburton that finds guys while on the move. This team needs to be moving at a faster pace. And yeah, I get it. People are talking about how they're fifth in offense. They're fifth in offense because they don't turn over the basketball as much, which you didn't get to see that tonight. I believe they had,
Right.
12 turnovers in the first half. But if you add the turnovers from last year, I believe last year's offense, just the fact that they were pushing the ball and shooting, looks better than what we're seeing in these one-dimensional screen, stand still, no off-ball movement offense. I was thoroughly irritated watching this entire game, if you can't tell by the tone of my voice.
And to your point, though, the Kings haven't been top 5 in pace in I don't know how many games this season. I believe they were 8th going into this game. If you're not top 3 with De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese as your point guards, something's wrong on so many levels. So the Kings are at their best when they're pushing the ball in transition, as Vince just alluded to. But just Tyrese, man, and I know it's gonna sound harsh because it's gonna allude and just open a can of worms about the whole Ben Simmons for Fox. Again, I keep trying to explain to people that would be an awful fit, not necessarily an awful trade because they're both so talented, but the fit. And tonight we continue to see it with Tyrese. He's not there yet in terms of his overall development. He always defers, and down the stretch when the Kings needed buckets. What did Tyrese do with the ball in his hands? And he's just trying to pass the ball. And same with like late game shot clock execution. He's always trying to defer and not actually attack. And let's be honest, he's not there yet offensively. Like he's not that good offensively. Like he's not a scorer offensively. And yes, he's not Anthony Edwards. I'm not saying he isn't. Maybe I tweeted the wrong thing today and someone caught me on that. I forget his name, but my whole point was this idea of a Fox for Simmons to then justify a Tyrese and Ben Simmons, who are both extremely passive, would just be an awful duo, and the Kings would never get buckets. And then defenses would just play off because they know instinctually what these two guys like to do. And yeah, he didn't have a great game. 7 points, only took 10 shots. Minus 13 for the game. He needs to be more aggressive, man. Just too many times he passes up the ball. And when he passes up the ball, he either travels or he gives somebody like in a bad situation. When that first quarter ended, why the hell would you give, was it Davion? Like the ball where he almost threw it out of bounds and then he took an awful shot, which was an air ball. That's when you got to just attack, man, just have that Fox mindset. And people can criticize Fox all they want with 28 points tonight. He's your only scorer on this team. And if you want to bring in Ben Simmons, I get it. I love Ben Simmons. But to get rid of him for Fox would be the biggest mistake ever, man. Thoughts on
Look,
that,
the
Javi?
biggest the
Go
biggest
ahead.
thing. Oh, sorry.
No,
I'm
go.
sorry. It's just that we talked about it earlier, bro. Like the Fox for Simmons things. I told you that if I'm the GM, I would consider it. But the main reason why I keep talking about that and saying I would consider it is because you have to believe that these other guys, whether it's a Buddy Hield, a Tyrese Halliburton, a Davion Mitchell, Rashawn Holmes, Barnes, these guys are your key pieces and what you want to grow with. If you're going to just have a player that is going to be capable of moving downhill, which as of right now, and I'm just going off the games that we've seen so far, De'Aaron Fox is a downhill player. He's not a shooter. He's not going to develop into a shooter. I would rather see a 6'10", 230-pound guy moving downhill. However, the ideal situation is to have two building block pieces. De'Aaron Fox is a franchise centerpiece type of player. He is a center block piece. I talked to you about this during the preseason and all throughout the summer and even throughout this year. The Kings need to figure out what is sand and what is cement, what is a building block, and what is something that you need to move on from, or is just a role player. You know what I mean? Like you have to establish what your team is, and I think you need to start building around your main core. And if you have the opportunity to get a guy like Ben Simmons, and your option is giving up a Tyrese Halliburton, Marvin Bagley, Buddy Hield, and a first round pick, it has to be considered. I mean, especially after games like today, especially struggles like this offensively like today. I'm so mad about this Kings loss. Mainly due to the fact because I had some change on there, but also due to the fact that it was just annoying to watch.
But offensively speaking, though, and we can go in circles about this. Ben Simmons and De'Aaron Fox. They're still the post game. De'Aaron Fox is actually talking right now. One thing I do dislike about De'Aaron Fox real quick is his post games. Like his body language is just like I don't care. And again, he
Nonchalant.
should like nonchalant. Like he should care because
Yeah.
this
Like it doesn't
this
affect him.
right like this fan base is hungry for the playoffs. And even though they've been pretty harsh on him, let's be honest, he needs to be that guy and be that face like Thompson was earlier, where I don't know if you heard it or if you're kind of late, but Thompson went in and he was like, we effing this, effing that. We should have gone 4-0. The Thunder don't want to win. The Pistons don't want to win and stuff like that. So that's the type of attitude that I would like from Fox. And you said it best earlier, Vince, that you want him to be more like Jaw. And that retrospect of like that attitude, and that could be something that hinders him. And I'm very well aware of that. But in terms of talent, everything's there. But to your point, Tyrese and Ben Simmons would just not be the best ideal fit offensively. And if they're struggling right now, scoring 97 points to, let's be honest, a bad Timberwolves team, that's not good. So I don't see how your offensive issues are resolved. I do see your rebounding getting better. Obviously, Ben's a very good rebounder for his position, or at
I
any
would say
position,
Fox moving
honestly.
downhill is the same. The way Fox they would use Ben Simmons is the same way they'd be using Fox, which is just run downhill and see what you can do down in the post. And if that's the case, I'd rather see a 6'10", 237, 40-pound, 25-year-old that's been in the playoffs have that. I mean, the big thing for me with Fox that makes me so frustrated about watching Fox, especially like you said about the post game, is you want to see your star guy get angry that you just lost to a team that, in my opinion, should have beat. And not only that, you just lost to OKC. Like on this road trip, the predictions were 3-1.
So let's give some people some context of what Thompson said today, real quick.
Is that on Coach Walton and the coaching staff to kind
This is by
of
Matt George, by the way.
some change
Shout out
there?
to
Is that
Matt.
on, does this team need more vocal leadership from players? Are you yourself trying to speak up from the bench in a timeout or even on the floor? Like, where's the vocal leadership with this team during those moments?
I'm gonna say this. I think no man in this world should rely on another man to inspire them. Point blank player. You could put that in all capitals. Me personally, no one should ever need a coach to inspire you. If you don't get inspired in a game, then you shouldn't be on the court. Losing teams, losing players, you need to get inspiration from your coach. And I'm not with that shit. My teammates better not be. My teammates aren't with it. because I know guys want to win and they want to win badly. So it's not about Coach Wallen inspiring you. This is not no freaking glory road shit. No, you got to be ready to play. Your number's called, you in the damn game. I don't need no fucking coach to inspire me. Never that, never have, never will. The day I need a coach to inspire me is the day I'm fucking retired. I'm going to go play with my kids in the park. So I speak for my teammates with that quote. So we don't need no coach to inspire us. I know Towns is a good player, but we had a game plan for him, and yes, you want to force him left, but if he gets right, your teammate's got to have your back. You got to help your team. It's the same way where if I get B and I want my teammate to be there, I got to be there for him. That's part of being on a string, and that's how you build a defensive mentality. And the league is fucking hard. It's hard to win. We don't have the luxury of having, that go-to guy like a LeBron, a Kawhi, or a PG, or a Jason Tatum, or Luka. We got to win collectively. So those little things, like with Towns or even with Anthony Edwards, we got to shrink and show bodies and make them second guess the move they're about to make.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah,
Thoughts, Javi?
You think that's a slight shot? Yeah, go Javi. You go first. I'm sorry. I'm just talking. This game has had me amped up, bro.
Oh yeah, you and me both. I think what Thompson is alluding to is the mindset that I feel like the majority of us that cover the Kings have, but I won't say directly said, because he did allude to the fact that, he says we do want to win badly in this room, but I hope the mindset of the Kings roster is what he's like simply stating we should have went 3-1 at worst on this road trip. Like, we're looking at teams and franchises in the NBA that we played in this last 4-game road trip, 3 of whom don't really want to win, if not 2 at worst, and the third one's still trying to find themselves. And we're over here competing tooth and nail with a team that has no true identity. They have some names. Oklahoma City, you're up 18, blow that lead. You look at tonight, the Kings, and what's just mind-boggling to me is when you look at the game tonight, the Kings had a chance more or less to salvage this road trip by at least going 2-2, right, more or less. But at any given junction of the game, did anybody see the Kings feel the momentum shift towards them? If Buddy didn't make those 5 3-point shots, which he made tonight, it could have been a lot worse. And obviously, we're not going to take that away, but the Kings shot 26% from 3, like I alluded to earlier. 76% from the free throw line, rather, and for the Kings to have 20 offensive rebounds, but to get outscored in the paint by 10, something's not adding up here. And Luke Walton expressed, we're going to have our best rebounders and bigs on the floor, but Marvin Bagley's playing. I understand they're trying to more or less showcase him, but again, the Kings had 7 less blocks than the Timberwolves, and Marvin Bagley's getting consistent minutes in the interior. Marvin, you're not getting consistent buckets. You're not getting consistent rebounds. Can I get a block?
He's getting consistently beat. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about
sorry.
in a productive light. But what Thompson is alluding to, even with Thompson, if you're going to be in there saying that, we can't get outscored in the paint by 10 points. That just can't happen. And I'm not even saying Thompson, but I'm saying I like the mindset. No, I love that mindset. But that has to be from the top down. How we say we don't have the Kawhi, LeBron, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry, whoever may be the Giannis Antetokounmpo, the go-to guy that can go get us a bucket whenever we need it. Understood, we have to win collectively, but they all need to think with that. And not win as a team, but the mindset, we should not be losing more than 1 game on this trip. And I hope all 15 of those guys in there, in that locker room, are going back to Sacramento tonight, feel the same way on that plane that, hey, we blew this trip. And to win 39, 40, 41, 42, 43 games to get into the play-in, the top 8, compared to 33, 34, 35, 36 wins, are games like this. These will be the games we'll look back at in May. We're like, man, the Kings should have beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are tanking for picks.
We'll say this every year, though.
No. But
every year.
Now we have,
they play down to their opponents.
Listen, but now we have a player on the roster who vocalizes it, who's actually stating that, not us, a player in the locker room that's actually.
But the problem with that is that player isn't very good. And let's be honest, like TT isn't very good. Like TT is to blame for a lot of these offensive rebounds, like key offensive rebounds, like in the worst moments. That's on TT. So I love his mindset. I love that he's encouraging his teammates. But the fact of the matter is,
he's the only one rebounding. I mean, that's the problem.
He's also allowing rebounding though. Like he's also allowing Cat to get offensive rebounds.
His box outs have been trash. No, I 100% agree. His box outs have been trash. Like if you're gonna call everybody, you got to also look at yourself in the mirror. However, I don't know if it was just me when I was listening to it. You guys can tell me if you felt some type of different way. But when I hear that, I feel like that was a huddle conversation. That was a subtle shot at someone on this team that today they look to you and you didn't show up. And the whole thing, I also think it's also a shot at slightly of it's not the coach's fault because we've already heard rumblings that now Luke Walton is on the hot seat, which has been an obvious thing. I've been adamant saying that I don't think that the Kings will necessarily move on. I mean, he went through so many losing streaks last season. We saw it longer than 4. You know what I mean? And they got that win. Now they're down on another loss, and they have a tough game on Friday against the Raptors, and then the Jazz on Saturday. I mean, they have a very tough schedule here to start the season. So if he's on the hot seat now, I'm scared of what the future is going to look like. That's number one. But number two, like I said, I think it's Tristan Thompson, and I think it's him looking at this team, and I think it was him taking a subtle shot at somebody that was there in the huddle that they were looking to. And that's the thing that's the biggest problem I have with this team is there's not that guy that is just gonna flip the switch automatically. There's too many nice guys on this team where you need someone to speak up. And unfortunately, the young guys haven't had a true veteran. I mean, Harrison Barnes is a great veteran. He's a guy that's been to a championship. He's a guy that's been through playoffs multiple times, but he's not that. He's also a nice guy. Like, he's very quiet and everything like that. You need a guy that's going to be on you to get you to work harder. And Davion as a rookie, while everyone wants to talk about the motivation he brings defensively, he's also only doing that defensively because offensively he's still struggling. You need that vet that's going to be there. So that I believe is what's missed. But honestly, it's just effort and rebounding or going out and getting that other forward that you need, whether it's a Jeremy Grant or Ben Simmons, and start swinging for the fences. Because if you, as a franchise, are looking at already firing another coach mid-season that you could have done this summer, so you're not at this point, not even 20 games into the season yet, I mean, that it just doesn't make much sense to me. You know what I mean? So, as you can tell, I'm pretty.
Yeah, man. Shout out to Tanvir, always, man, showing love to the platform. Super chat there 499. Javi, do you have any thoughts on that? Because I know you've been wanting to get into this one.
I'm trying to focus more on who's here on the roster, and
Right.
Karl Anthony Towns had 22, Anthony Edwards had 26.
So Javi, give us your Medici MVP. It doesn't have to be a King MVP, obviously. Ain't nobody going to choose no damn King MVP. But
my phone's about to die, guys. I don't want to keep you guys hanging and drop out midway. So I want to thank you guys for having me on. But my phone's at 5%. I just wanted to get on the show because I was supposed to be on today, but I had a birthday party, so I apologize. But
shout out to you, Vince. Appreciate you, big dog.
Yep.
Appreciate
have
you.
A good night, guys.
See you later. I would say the MVP. Are you ready for my MVP? My bad.
Go ahead.
I don't want to interrupt.
My
MVP for the night, I feel like 200% is Patrick Beverley. And that's because of how well he played defensively. The Kings knew that the Timberwolves are going to play aggressive, but they're going to foul, but they create turnovers. But if we, obviously felt with the lineup we had, we need to understand that we need to drive to the bucket and get to the cup, because if we do drive to the basket, we're more prone to get foul shots and free throws, because the Timberwolves are a team that fouls mildly in regards to foul percentage throughout the league in the duration of the season so far. They do create a lot of turnovers, but if we came strong to the cup, we were going to get foul shots. And what's most frustrating is the Kings had 20 turnovers tonight, 13 of which came from the starting 5. That is unacceptable. If you're going to be a winning team, the starters cannot commit more than 60% of your turnovers. And even having 20 turnovers is too much. But to have it come from De'Aaron, Tyrese, Metu, Harrison, and Rashawn, 13 turnovers amongst those 5. That's a little under 3 turnovers amongst all 5 of them each, respectively, in this 4-quarter affair. And you look at this 3-game home stretch that's coming up after this road trip. They're playing the Toronto Raptors. They're playing the Philadelphia 76ers. And then, they play the Utah Jazz and then the Philadelphia 76ers. Those are all games that should lock fear into the Kings, because, it's just Tristan Thompson alluded to also earlier in the interview. These games in the road trip should have been won. Not all of them, but the Kings right now, looking at the standings and the schedule, they should at least be 8-7. Looking to go 1-2 over this next, 3-game home stretch and get to, 9-9. But again, they're 6-9, crawling, most importantly, behind the 8 ball. So my MVP of the game, though, I didn't mean to take it off task, was Patrick Beverly because he was the defensive stalwart for them, and he kept the Kings in a rut offensively all night. And that's why the Kings had 13 turnovers amongst their starters and 20 collectively as a group from starter to the last bench player to touch the floor tonight.
That is brought to you by Medici Sacramento. Shout out to Medici Sacramento for always supporting the Cowbell Kingdom platform. We are now transitioning into a little bit of some film sessions, breaking down 5 plays. This was the first play here where you saw them allow multiple opportunities on offense. One thing I'm going to say, though, my goodness, Cat got away with a lot of damn travels today. It's a recurring thing. I don't understand it why. It's super frustrating, but let's keep this going. So right here, let's break it down from the beginning. So the fundamental issue here was Patrick Beverly setting a screen, and then Tristan Thompson here taking the bad angle to then switch. Like, you don't ever want to switch and put Buddy on Karl-Anthony Towns. The problem here is that TT understands and knows a scouting report here that, well, just I'll live and die with Pat Bev shooting the ball. So he just goes for it and be like, man, just switch right now. You don't really see this a lot in the NBA, which I'm kind of glad he did. But you have to be able to communicate this very well with your teammates. So now it puts everybody in a tough situation. Davion did a great job, actually, of playing this and playing safety here, right? Playing both this area. And, it gives Buddy enough time to essentially contest. Again, I'm not worried about Pat Bev, but good contest. The problem here is that Davion, as I said earlier, he was slipping a lot. He should have grabbed his offensive rebound, long rebounds. Then he contests, good contest there, missed it. But right here, man, like, TT cannot. TT has position. Like this man has position here. You cannot get out rebounded, man. And I love his fire. I love his spirit. He's a great teammate. But you cannot get beat there. And these are the plays where you look back and you're like, damn. Like, that should have never happened. What a damn pass. I'm going to say this, too. Cat is an insane passer. And he be making plays where I'm like, okay, I see you, boy. And just his teammates don't got the IQ to actually execute with him. But great ball movement. 3 chances, and you get a wide open shot, man. It's unacceptable on so many levels. Do you have any thoughts to add, Javi, before we move on to the next play?
You see the roll action, or rather the drive action. They swing the ball from left to right, and then have Davion rotate tremendously to play the perimeter as well as come back and contest from the shot from, I believe that's Edwards, number 1.
Yep.
And then they get the rebound because Tristan has an advantage in the paint to get the defensive rebound, but somehow the ball ends up in Cat's hands. And again, what you said, it's something that just cannot happen. But Davion should have first got that defensive rebound rather after the first offensive miss. But they gave up the offensive rebound on the putback. And it's just, that's a 3 opportunity swing that the Kings allude to. Well, it's only one basket. Well, it's one basket that put the Timberwolves not just ahead, but look at the result of this actual possession. The Kings should have had 2 defensive rebounds and instead gave up a what? Finished the play sequence for me, Elio? Have we actually finished the play sequence of this actual play? In this actual set? Look at the result of the play. Results in what?
Yep.
It went from having 2 defensive rebounds to a 3 made in the corner that Davion had already played previously in the first part of the segment of this actual sequence. And
Right.
it's an avalanche effect. And it's just something that, those are little subtle things that the Kings need to understand. Though we lost by 10, that's a 3-pointer that she even gave up.
Right. Let's go on a positive note, and we need a lot more of this from your best player, from your franchise. Took the charge, put his body on the line. That's the attitude that I kind of concur with Vince, where he didn't directly take shots at anybody, but De'Aaron Fox, as I said earlier, like, one thing that I do dislike is his nonchalant personality, especially in pressers. Like, I get it, bro. Like, you make millions of dollars, but you gotta at least act like you care and like have like that spirit. Like, Tyrese has that spirit, Thompson has that spirit, and sometimes De'Aaron doesn't have that spirit, which bugs me. But These are the type of plays that we have to see a lot more of, anticipating and using the speed, his good anticipation skills. He just wants to do it, right? Like it's a want. Like you have to want to do something like this and take charges like this. Like it's not the sexy thing to do, but it's the right thing to do, and that's what a good basketball player does. Let's move on to some good defense here, right? So this I categorized as this was after a miss or a make, I forget. But with 8 seconds left in that third quarter, you're down by 5. Davion Mitchell, Tristan Thompson, they understand the scouting report. They know that this current lineup for the Minnesota, they don't have shot creators out there. So what they're trying to do is just stay home and stay disciplined. Damn, do I wish the Kings were like this in every single possession. And they win a lot more games, but they stayed disciplined. They stayed down. They never jumped. They doubled this guy who they know that he's not a shot creator, and you get this type of result. This type of inspired defense will get you a lot more steals, a lot more deflections, just like the T-Wolves. Like the T-Wolves, as Luke said, they get a lot of deflections and they foul a lot, but they're super aggressive. That's the type of attitude and tone that the Kings have to play with consistently, man. Let's talk about this one right here where this is Marvin Bagley, right? Like, oh my Lord. So a great action by the T-Wolves here. So you get some swing action on the strong side here, and then you get a nice pick play by Karl Anthony Towns. So it's a nice little high hammer screen here. And that gets Anthony Edwards rolling. There is zero communication here between Marvin Bagley and Harrison Barnes. Typically, if this is Richaun Holmes up here, he's talking, he's moving. Marvin Bagley, as you can see with the still frame, he is flat foot. You should not be flat foot in this situation, ever. You should be in your three-point stance trying to communicate and just help your teammates, man. And I know Thompson was referring to Bagley. Like, he is known to always be put in these situations because defenses love it. They're like, okay, we know he can't communicate, and we're just going to catch him slipping. And yes, this is on Harrison Barnes ultimately, right, because the result ended up being a bucket from, actually, it wasn't even his man because they actually switched on top. But still, this is just unacceptable. And for the people on Instagram that said that Richaun should have rolled right here, you don't roll when this dude's already at the free throw line taking off. Like this, no, I don't want him to foul him, potentially flagrant foul, and then put Richaun on the bench. Like the Kings aren't good enough to have Richaun Holmes on the bench. And if he rotates earlier, guess what? The corner is wide open for another 3-point shot. So the breakdown happened up here on top. This cannot happen. I understand that the Kings are trying to showcase Bagley, but my God, that has to stop, man. Like, he should not be getting this type of minutes, bro. Like, 11 minutes is just way too long. 1 minute is way too long. I'm sorry, but it's true. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this specific possession.
It's just a matter of Bagley wanting to get minutes, and then you see his defensive efficiency or lack thereof, and I'm just scratching my head along with everybody. I look at that as, again, you're supposed to communicate, help the helper. He's standing there in no man's land. He sees the action of the cutter, going underneath Harrison. Harrison, obviously, as the veteran, should have spoke, communicate. But even as the big on the perimeter, you need to have Marvin say, hey, you got back cutter, just something, hey, just something to allude to communicate, because
exactly.
You leave him in no man's land by saying, for one, Marvin, you're in no man's land, and then you put Harrison in a lose-lose situation. And it's just something that.
And then look at Harrison. Look at Harrison. He's like, dude, say something.
Looking at Marvin, like, why didn't you communicate this? That I would have obviously got that. And what's crazy is the Kings were about even in fouls, 22-24. And I'm not saying that Marvin, or rather Richaun, should have fouled Edwards there. But again, at worst, if they would have communicated, it would have been a foul and made Edwards draw, the earned points rather at the free throw strike. But he comes in with a just easy, uncontested dunk at the rim, and it's because Marvin's standing there not communicating. And the Marvin Bagley agent says we are just baffled by his rotation being taken out of the starting lineup. And Well, look what we're watching right now. I mean, how many minutes did he play? I think he played 16 minutes, and he had. If you go back to the stat line, you look at the box score. Marvin Bagley, I think plus minus was atrocious, to be honest. But you look at his minute count tonight, had 11 minutes and 2 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. He's trying to find ways to play him, but this is just some not even offensive. We're talking about defensively. I mean, Harrison's saying we're going to have you as our power forward, and you're not going to communicate with me on a switch like this with a back cutter with their best player using as the essentially detour and having their most up and coming player that's on the rise just come right past and have an uncontested dunk because you don't speak a word. It's just, and you're a fourth-year player now. You're Marvin Bagley. Right. You're a fourth-year player.
And great point by Bobby Hill. All the switches on defense are creating unnecessary mismatches. That is 100%. I've been on this for I don't know how many years, bro. Like, you don't have to switch every effing time. Like, you don't have to. First of all, you don't have the personnel to switch like the Raptors do or like these other teams that switch a lot. You don't have the defensive assets, players to be doing things like that. Thank you so much, Bobby, for always keeping it real, man. It fires me up, man, because when I was doing those hour-long film sessions, you can just tell how easily these guys switch, and it's just lazy, uninspired stuff. Man, that pisses me off, man. But let's move on and just end this film session, this segment of our film session presented by Valley Tire Center. Make sure you guys go check them out. They're always supporting the Cowboy Kingdom platform, always supporting their community, always throwing out events for the people, man, for free food, free prizes, like great deals. Sometimes they be doing like free alignments. Like, bro, Valley Tire Center is legit. They're very immersed in their community. You gotta love it, man. Support your local businesses. But let's look at this play, which is something that gets me quite excited. And this is a wrinkle of my favorite action, which is the Spain pick and roll. Typically, the Spain pick and roll is your original pick and roll here, and you get a second guy from either from this area here. I don't know if you guys can see my cursor or not, but pretty much from the paint, or you can bring Buddy from the weak side to set that second pick on the screener's guy, which then creates confusion. And anytime you put a guard in a position to communicate, it ends up well for the offense. But what we see here is more of a double staggered wrinkle to the idea of the Spain pick and roll, which is to get that second pick and that action. And we see that here with Buddy Hield setting that back pick on Metu's guy, which then allows Metu to just free roam to the lane for the wide open alley-oop. Great look by Tyrese. That gets me super excited, and it makes me mad because it tells me that the team is more than capable of executing these types of actions, and they should be doing this a lot more because you really can't stop this. And we saw what the Wolves did to the Kings until the Kings adjusted, which was way too late down the stretch. But in that Horns action, they were like, all right, we're going to put our three best players, right? D'Lo, Cat, and Anthony in Horns, and there are different, iterations of that action, and they're going to do whatever the defense gives them. And until the Kings adjusted, you started seeing a little bit more pressure and more missed shots. But the Kings should be running more stuff like this, and they don't. It's super frustrating, man, but also, makes me happy, hits my heart in the right way because I love these type of executions, man. I don't know if you have anything else to add to this.
I like the action of overall just keeping the defense on their heels and
right.
Have that action of running that action. If you re-rack and, so this actual roll and you see Metu, you keep the screener's man away, but as he rolls by himself free to the cup, he's essentially naked. It's just, you see the Kings have a playmaker.
But Buddy set that pick for him, though.
Oh, no, but I understood from Metu. But what I'm saying is when you have the roll action there and you have him by himself, it shows that the Kings have a semblance of playmakers, but they just need more playmakers. In their half-court set, they need to run more actions like this and conceptually design plays to have their long, free, and most importantly, athletic, skill position players roll and make plays like this at the cup because they obviously don't have enough, consistent shooters from the perimeter. But it does, bring you a semblance of, all right, they have a sense of what they should be doing. It's a matter of executing possession in, possession out, because you see on this action here, I mean, nobody on the Timberwolves is even aware of this back roll by Metu, which is a good thing for us because obviously we do have sense of having some execution on the opposite side of the glass.
100%, man. I wish we can get happy Leo BS. Shout out to Ben Kenobi, long-suffering Kings fan. Hey, man, your user and tag name says it all. I think we're all long-suffering Kings fans. I'm just a little bit better at channeling my emotions in terms of like not going ham and just destroying them completely. Because obviously, I like to think that I'm professional, but there comes a point to where you're like, enough is enough. And obviously, say it in the professional way. I'm not gonna just slander people's names because that's not right either. But this team needs to look themselves in the mirror, do some soul searching, man. I love what TT said today. It resonated with me a lot. It's resonated because that's what we've seen the last 15 years, uninspired help defense. And again, he's guilty of it. Fox is guilty. But it starts with Fox, bro. Like, I still believe in Fox. And I'm very, very firm on that. I want to see how it all transpires for the end of the season. And it's going to show me who he is. Is he a Robin or is he a Batman? Right now, he's definitely a Robin. He's extremely, extremely gifted on so many levels. He can score. I don't agree with Vince about that. He's just a guy that's just a slasher that can attack the rim. Like, he can stop on the dime, cross you over, and hit that mid-range shot, which is not a high-efficient shot, but the very good players still hit the mid-range shot. And he's very good in the mid-range. They just have to open it up more, and Luke has to do a better job of creating these types of openings and just put him in different actions to allow him to get to that midi. Like, we saw a lot of that today. Again, 28 points. Like, that's not easy to do. If everybody can do it, like if it was easy, everybody can do it. Obviously, Tyrese can't do that. Like, Tyrese defers to Fox, defers to Davion, defers to everybody, to Buddy. Like, he don't want that pressure, and that bugs me. Like, I'd rather Fox miss shots, but actually be aggressive and like want to take those shots. Buddy's not scared of the moment. That guy's gonna chuck up everything because he knows he puts the work in. That's the mindset that I want in my lead guard. And if you want Simmons, I'm all for it. But please explain to me how a Simmons and a Tyrese without Fox makes sense. Right now, currently, Tyrese is not that dude. Can he become that dude? I don't want to wait and find out. I want to win now. So if I have to give up Tyrese in the trade for Ben Simmons, I'm going to do it. Hands down, no questions about it.
I'm not.
I am.
I'm not.
I guess you like to lose.
I understood.
And we're seeing the results.
So if Ben Simmons is included on the way for Tyrese to have him come with
he's a better Tyrese Halliburton. He's a better Tyrese Halliburton.
Understood. So is he going to make the Kings exponentially better without Tyrese in the lineup?
Yes.
Or would
yes. Would you rather give up Tyrese or Davion? Because I'd rather give up Tyrese.
That's where I think we see, I don't know if does Tyrese have more upside than Davion? What do you see?
I think you need a culture driver, an actual dog, and if you put actually Ben Simmons with Davion Mitchell, I mean, God diggity, like defensively, you're going to be monsters. Like, has Tyrese improved defensively? He's always been that freelancer, LaMelo Ball, safety type role, but on ball, he gets beat a lot. He's gone better this year. Give him credit for that. But he's not Ben Simmons defensively. He's not I mean, I would say passing-wise, they're pretty even. Rebounding-wise, nowhere near Ben Simmons. So tell me where he's better. And if I recall correctly, Ben Simmons is 25 years old. So he's not that much older than Tyrese Halliburton. And he's already an All-NBA player. And if Ben Simmons is going to defer, which we all know, and that's one of the criticisms that I cannot defend Ben Simmons for. I get and you've been very adamant, right, Javi, about, he's not that dude. I get it. But when you have a guy like Fox who could put up 30 every single night, that kind of offsets a lot of his issues. But if he puts Simmons and Tyrese together, you have a whole new fire to pretty much put out every night. Because who's going to want it?
Understood. And I just, The only thing that I'm privy to is, the Sixers did get blown out significantly last night. So obviously, like, it's only one game, but I won't say they caved, but as Kings fans, and as Monty McNair has more than egregious decisions to make. In my estimation, it's a the totality of the decision that he has to make, whether it's in December, whether it's the deadline. Just the enormous amount of where he's going to have on his shoulders to make this transaction, whether it's with Philadelphia, who it may be. Something needs to be done. I don't know when, I don't know what, but there needs to be some type of shakeup. But I want to keep Tyrese. I would love, probably in a perfect world, obviously, I want to see De'Aaron, Tyrese, Davion, and Simmons all on the court together with Rashawn. That's my own preference.
In a perfect world, yes. In a perfect world, yes. But you got to give up talent to get talent. Like the Kings are.